But you do get the occasional sort of flashback to the characters.
Yeah, so many layers here.
Yeah, there's so many meta layers. I just went like 5 Inception layers deep in 2 seconds.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tales from the Backlog, a gaming deep dive podcast. I am your host, Dave Jackson, he, him.
I'm Emily Merritt, she, her.
And today we'll be covering Titanium Court on the podcast. But first, if this is your first time here, a few important things before we get started. Number 1, spoiler policy. If you don't want to be spoiled on Titanium Court, you are in luck. This show is always no spoiler for quite some time. Check down in the show notes for a timestamp for when spoilers begin, but you're going to be safe for quite a while in this episode. So with that being said, the other thing is if you like the show, please consider supporting it however you can. Lots of free ways to do that. Most importantly, just tell a friend if you like the show, share the show with them. But also you can leave reviews on the podcast apps. You can like and comment here on YouTube if that's where you're here. And you can support on Patreon if you want to throw a few bucks a month my way. That's patreon.com/realdavejackson. Now, as you heard at the top of the show, we've got another voice here with me today, a returning friend of the show. It's Emily Merritt. She is one of the hosts of No Small Games podcast. She streams on Twitch, and she is Queen of the Fairies. Emily, welcome back.
Hi, Dave. It's great to be back. I'm extremely excited, both to be back and to talk about this game.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a really interesting one, kind of hard to talk about in some ways. We'll probably talk about the ways that it might be difficult. So thanks for being up for the challenge, but also it's a super fun game, so it's going to be a fun chat.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that game is, again, Titanium Court. And here's one of the hard parts, describing what type of game it is. It is I say a narrative strategy game developed by AP Thompson and published by Fellow Traveler for PC in 2026. Main credits, as we normally do, but mainly just one person, AP Thompson. That is the developer. Of course, there are more people involved in the making of the game, but this is very, very nearly a solo project, we'll say. Like, the truly solo developed game is more rare than people think, but this is pretty damn close from what I can tell.
Yeah, it seems like it. And I think that's I think that says a lot because there's a lot of great art, music, writing, obviously coding going on in this game. So hats off to AP Thompson. Yeah,
one of the things that I like about primarily or entirely solo developed games is you get just a window into what one person thinks is funny, what one person wants to talk about, what kind of game they think is interesting, and all of those are true about Titanium Court. So I'm excited. This is going to be fun. First, in case people don't know what Titanium Court is, we have our elevator pitches. And again, kind of hard to describe, so I chose the host's privilege of stealing the developer's description. AP Thompson describes it as a match 3 tower defense game for people who like to read. And I don't think I could beat that myself, so I didn't try to. But you have to, Emily.
I have to. And my pitch is that this is the game you would get if William Shakespeare, Oscar Wilde, and Douglas Adams got together to make a video game, assuming they also knew what a video game was, et cetera, et cetera.
That would be quite the what would they call it? The supergroup, the development supergroup right there.
No kidding.
If we could. I played this. It's only available on PC at this time, but I played it both on my PC and on Steam Deck. It works great in both places. Cloud saves work great. Took me 13 hours to roll the credits. How about you?
So I played this entirely on Steam Deck. This is, fantastic Steam Deck game. This is like what the Steam Deck was made for, it feels like. And it took me about, I think, 11 and a half hours to roll credits the first time around. And I have been playing it a second time. And so I've put like 18, 19 hours into it.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Hell yeah. Love that. I also do want to say before we get too deep into the show, I did get a review code from Fellow Traveler and Two Frogs in a Trench Coat, which is a great PR name. So I did get a review code. Thank you for sending me that.
I did as well. I guess I should also say thank you for that.
Yeah. Good folks over there for sure. So let's travel back in time a little bit, talk about our histories with the game. I have a very short history with this one, so maybe yours will be more interesting. I know you played this before I did. I remember reading your review on the No Small Games website, which I thought was a really fun review. So what brought you to want to play this?
I was hearing kind of murmurings in the gaming press community about this game before it came out for Steam Next Fest in February of 2026. And I think I was getting emails for early demos. I think the demo went out a little early, and so people started talking about it. And it was like one of those things where the people talking about it just kind of like wouldn't shut up about it. And I was like, okay, this is sounding pretty interesting. People are really digging this game. So I played the demo, I didn't even finish the demo. I was immediately sold within 5 minutes. Just the writing was so clever. So I played the Steam Next Fest demo, and then I got the key for review from fellow traveler. And it was such a delightful game to review, but also I felt like all of us who reviewed the game did have at some point like that caveat of like, hey, it's really hard to describe this game. So I don't know if it felt tiring to like hear over and over again from everyone who was talking about it. But it's I don't know, in a time where so many games are coming out constantly, it feels like this deluge. And a lot of things feel really derivative, even the great titles. It's like so nice to actually have something that feels like, wow, this is actually so fresh that I don't really completely have vocabulary to like encompass what this is.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that drew me to it was just kind of hearing everyone rave about it, but also struggle to describe it in their own unique ways. This was one every now and then. I remember Blueprints was like this too. Before the embargo goes up for reviews, there's always, well, not always, sometimes there's a game that like the gaming press is really hot on, but they can't talk about it. So they vague post about this game that I fucking love that I can't talk about, that's coming out in an indeterminate but soon amount of time. And
I feel called out. I was one of those people.
Yeah. So I remember like, a lot of people were. And sometimes if you're plugged in enough, you can kind of read between the lines and be like, I think they're talking about Titanium Court here. And Titanium Court was one of those. So I didn't play it during Next Fest. The Next Fest coverage that I watched, like it looked neat, but I wasn't totally sold on it. And then all that stuff started and it was a total FOMO, like, well, let me see if I can get a key and try it out. I probably would have played it without the key. I was just so, once the reviews started rolling in, I was so like interested. And I was just like you said, anything that everyone's raving is really good, but also is unlike anything you've ever played before. I'm like, okay, hell yeah. So we got into it, and now comes the time where we have to describe Titanium Court. What I'll say is it seems like an unholy mashup of genres. Match 3, tower defense, kind of adventure gamey, a little bit of like visual novel-y, like tons and tons of dialogue, but also these, I don't want to say like simple, but simple-ish types of gameplay. Match 3, you don't really associate that with a lot of complexity or strategy. Maybe I'm just dog shit at Match 3 though. I don't know. I am bad at tower defense. So like it wasn't even Match 3 or tower defense to draw me into it. It's this weird mashup of all of these things. And what I found is that those things feed into each other really, really well in a really compelling way, in a strategic way that I thought was good. So that's like the gameplay side of things that I thought was really, really fun, really engaging, strategic. Like it always left me wanting to try something new, or if I failed, like wanted to kind of adjust my strategy a little bit, see if I can do better the next time. And then on the writing side, because there is so much narrative and dialogue, it really feels like, again, that peek into one person's head and what they think is cool, what they think is funny, what they think is interesting to explore thematically. And what I'll say now, which we'll probably revisit this more in the spoiler section, but I was really surprised at how much the story did for me once it got going. It was, for a little while, it's like this overwhelming fish out of water situation with a bunch of jokes and a bunch of weird characters and stuff like that. And it was entertaining. And then the other shoe drops and you're like, oh, that's what this game is doing narratively. I think it's really good. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff they threw at the wall with Titanium Court. I think most of it stuck, if not all of it.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. I think the game, when you first launch it, in the first hour or so, there's so much little delightful moments and so much humor in it that it's really engaging, but you don't see it getting super deep at all, both narratively or gameplay wise, but then it does, and it's just it's really profound, but also kind of light and digestible. This is the first game I think I've ever played that I wish I could memorize, in the same way that like there are certain plays, and you know, it's got that theater element to it, but like certain plays that I just wish I could remember every line, because every line just like hits so well. I have a million screenshots just because I loved, you know, one line of dialogue. I was like, I got to remember this. It's just brilliant. But when I first played the demo, in the first like 45 minutes or so, I think I really loved it because I loved the writing, but I think my expectation was that this was going to be a kind of light and maybe not very interesting match 3 tower defense game with like that, where the gameplay was the filler for this really quippy dialogue. But it turns out the match 3, the kind of combat is really fun, and I can't put it down. It's just, it's good all around. It's really amazing game design, especially coming from just one person.
Yeah. Any game that kind of makes it, we always say any game that gets finished is kind of a miracle, but when you have all of these different things being thrown in the pot together, the fact that it turned out to be, well, I guess if we're continuing the metaphor, it turned out to be as delicious as it did. It is really cool. And we have a lot of like stuff. We're going to talk about all those elements that went into it and talk about how they feed into each other. And I think that that's the thing that I'm like, I want to impress on people right at this opening section is like the gameplay, the strategy, the match 3, the tower defense, that stuff is good on its own. It would be a pretty decent game, but the way that it then feeds into the story, and then the way that the story sends you into the next day of combat per se, with new things to try or new goals and stuff, the way everything feeds into each other is just really excellent. And it turns into a game that like, it's not a game that I feel is like preying on me psychologically to keep me playing. It's like, it has a momentum to it that everything is, one thing's feeding into the next thing, feeding into the next thing. And that's what makes me want to keep playing, is because I'm just interested in this new thing that popped up in the last story beat. And now I'm going into the war section to do something new that's related to that. So it's just really great. It's a really great game. It's worthy of all the acclaim that it's gotten.
It really is. And it does this thing where it just keeps offering you new things to do. And in almost every game, you know, there's a variety of things that you can do, and there's almost always a time where I'm like, I don't really feel like doing that, or this is not something that really appeals to me. But it just lays out all these different things, and you know every single thing you try, every new thing you do is going to bring some surprise. You can't predict what is going to happen if you make certain choices. So you just want to try everything. And it's just so, it's like just such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to take our first music break. Speaking of breaths of fresh air, let's take one, listen to a bit of the music from Titanium Court, and we'll come back and set up the story and talk about what the game is doing with its writing, with its narrative, and things like that. Titanium Court begins with an introduction of a framing device. You're not actually playing as your character yet. You're in a theater, and the MC in the theater introduces you to tonight's production. The opening dialogue, they talk about how the lead in the play is not able to perform, and they will be replaced by you, the player of the game. You're going to take the role of the lead. He says it's okay if you don't know the lines because the actors don't know the lines either, and it will be a race to see, can we finish the script first, or will the actors catch up first? Right away, we're introduced to the game's sense of humor, and right away, we're introduced to this theatrical, there's a lot of inspiration coming from theater, but also this like presentation of you're always reminded you're within this device, even on the corners of or the edges of the screen. Throughout the entire game, you always see the curtains, the stage curtains. So I love this introduction. This was like what you said, Luke, within the first couple minutes, you're like already just locked into it. I was too, because of this MC.
Yeah, and like it's already sort of breaking the fourth wall, and I love that there's this idea of this fictional audience in the game too, who's sort of observing you experiencing what's going to happen. So that whole premise immediately is like, okay, this is fascinating. Where are we going with this?
Yeah, I will say that the that framing device is pretty limited, I think, to the beginning, right when they introduce you to it. But that meta element of it never goes away, and it becomes a kind of foundational part of the story that they're telling here and the themes they want to explore. So it's not just like a way to introduce the game in a fun way. It is kind of that meta element is pretty important to it. We'll talk more about that later. But for now, you play as a character. You're known as the Queen of the Fairies. Your character wakes up in this unfamiliar land. They find their way to the Titanium Court from the title, which is this castle that's out there in this strange land. And all the fairies that live there immediately, they're like, okay, Queen of the Fairies, the Queen's here. And you're like, me? I'm the Queen? They're like, you're the Queen. Let's go. So you're kind of thrown into this weird situation where you play as the Queen of the Titanium Court. You need to lead the court through its daily wars during the day. And then at night, you're free to wander around and talk to characters. And the main like goal of your character is to go home, like figure out how to leave the Titanium Court and go home. And all of this stuff sets up a real fish out of water, confusing situation for us as the audience, us as the players, but also your character doesn't know what the hell anything is. So everyone's kind of on the same footing in that way that a lot of like isekai stories will, maybe this is even an isekai story, I don't know. But that way that like, I don't know what the fuck's going on and neither does my character. We know exactly the same amount about what's happening here. So you're kind of, like you said, that entertaining first section of the game before the other narrative shoe drops. Everyone's just weird and every situation you're in is completely out there. And it's just really, really entertaining as you try to figure out what is this place? How does it work? What's going on with this war that we're doing every day? And so many other mysteries.
Yeah, and all of the fairies in the court have this funny balance between sort of treating you like a simpleton because you don't know all these things that seem completely obvious to them, while also kind of revering you and having a lot of respect for you. So you get this funny, like every interaction is like that all the time. It's also very interesting over the course of time. I don't know if this is super spoilery, so I won't go into detail yet, but you do get the occasional sort of flashback to the characters.
Yeah, so many layers here.
Yeah, there's so many meta layers. I just went like 5 Inception layers deep in 2 seconds. The main characters' like life, you'll have these occasional moments of where you're caught up in a memory of the character's life. And so you actually get a sense of, okay, what was their experience before this, which is very interesting too. Just so many layers here.
Yeah. I like with the other fairies, the dynamic that you said is really good, but also like the court has like very rigid customs and traditions and culture, and like you don't know any of it and it's all weird. And so you're just constantly like either doing things that you think are innocuous that are like huge faux pas at the court, or you're doing something that seems outrageous, but everyone at the court is like, no, this is totally cool. Like, we love this. Yeah. Everyone's like having weird philosophical conversations about the simplest subjects, or like, there's this really weird, it plays into like the sense of humor, but also, the fact that you are in this like very unfamiliar place that like they know of the world that your character came from, but it's like foreign. It's like something they'd read about in fantasy books, and now they're finding out that it's real or something like that. Like, yeah, it's a really fun, consistently entertaining. Like when in the night sections, when you're going around and you're able to talk to everyone, I always wanted to talk to everybody, because I loved reading the dialogue. Like, the dialogue writing is really entertaining, but also like the content of it. Like, I just want to know, like, what are these weirdos talking about now,
Yeah. And it sets up this idea that like this has been going on without you. And there is lore to this group of people in this place that you don't know about, that has existed, and that is like changing a little bit by being perceived. Like, your presence is like actively changing what the court is like. It's
it's really fun. One of the ways that you learn is at night. After you win a run at night, you're allowed to ask one question to your I don't know how to describe like what your relationship is with Puck, but Puck is like a
he's like your absentee advisor.
Yeah, sort of. Like he actively avoids you most of the time, but it seems like at night after you win, his hands are tied by something and he has to answer one of your questions. And so you can always ask like, what's going on with the war? How can I go home? You can ask like the big questions to Puck, and there's some like supernatural law that's binding him to answer the question. So you can get answers that way. Puck is also a really funny character just in general, and plays into the story in an interesting way the more you play. Puck, of course, well, I say, of course, I learned about this like 2 weeks ago, but Puck is one of the characters in A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I take from interviews and stuff that this game was very much inspired by. That's a play that I'm sure I read it in high school, but high school was a long time ago, and I haven't thought about it since then. So there's a lot of good people who are doing the comparison between Shakespeare or other theater type influences and Titanium Court. I am not prepared. I just want to like throw that out there that if that's what you're hoping for, I was a theater kid, but I'm letting everyone down. I don't catch these things anymore. If I could recommend, and this is actually a critical piece of the game, but Willa Bloomfield Rowe wrote a really good piece of criticism about a theatrical concept, we'll say, and how it relates to where Titanium Court's story ends up going. So maybe I would point everyone in that direction if you want someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, that was a fascinating piece. And I should say, I should have mentioned this in my initial history with the game. That was probably one of the details that got me most excited about the game when I played the demo. Was I realized as soon as Puck showed up, that got me thinking about Midsummer Night's Dream, and I realized that Titanium Court is named that because of Queen Titania in the play. And I'm a huge Shakespeare nerd, so my brain immediately exploded, and I was like, okay, this game is my personality now. But I will say Midsummer is not my favorite Shakespeare play, so I'm also not a Midsummer expert.
Fair. Well, I always say, especially when going into the spoiler section, that like we're not pretending to be subject area experts here. We're just talking about a game. So again, there are other places where people can get that for sure. I wanted to talk a little bit about the game's sense of humor, because for a while before the narrative themes really become present, the game really does kind of live, I think, on how much you like the gameplay, of course, but also I really think it will kind of live and die on how funny you think it is or how witty you think the writing is.
Yes.
Like it's interesting, but it's full of jokes. It's full of witty observations. It's full of bizarre like dialogue. Like the fact that the fairies don't believe that cars are real. Like that's one that people pick out often. You'll see a street sign, like a stop sign, and the fairies are like, what the fuck is this? What does this go for? Like, what is this? Does this have to do with cars? Like, you can't keep telling us that these things are real. And stuff like that comes up. I think that's going to spend differently for everybody. I thought most of the game was quite funny. There were certain like recurring things that I was like not landing so much for me. But I mean, a game with this much writing and this many jokes, not everything's going to land. It's just the way it is. But overall, I thought it was really funny. And I did think the writing was genuinely pretty witty most of the time.
I agree. For me, I thought it was witty 100% of the time. It's so my shit. It was like written for me. I was like, I'm obsessed with this. But like, it's definitely not for everybody with its particular brand of humor. And I do think that some people would probably pick this up and go, this is pretty pretentious and this is not for me. And I respect that, but it is very much for me.
Yeah. Well, anytime you try like this much in one direction, like you are going to lose some people. But I think that I've heard more on the positive side than negative, and both of us are certainly on the positive side. So humor's tough. I mean, humor's super subjective to begin with. And then like you have a very specific, again, like one person's idea of what they think is funny. So I thought it was good. I especially loved all the jokes thrown in about sports and the love of sports. Like there's an early scene, your character goes to the bar in the Titanium Court, I think it is. And there's a potion they drink that makes them love baseball, but also gets them drunk. And I love baseball. And it's like, just kind of a reminder, I think that this is, merging a little bit more and more as the years go, but there has always sort of been a dichotomy between gamers and sports. And it's like the people who love sports, the people who play sports, well, maybe they'll play sports video games, but they're not going to play Titanium Court. And it's like, that's not true. There's so much more overlap. And I just find it refreshing to play this game and be like, this person clearly loves baseball. I love baseball. These things are very funny to me. The idea of a love potion, but it's not for a person, it's for baseball, is great to me.
I love that they're doing this experiment too, because some of the fairies have no idea what baseball is and have never experienced baseball, but they also take the potion. So they're looking to what is it going to be like to suddenly start loving or liking something I have no frame of reference to. It's so fun.
Yeah, love it. We have a lot of like story spoiler stuff that I think is good. Again, that's going to have to wait for the spoiler section. But you had a note on the subject of humor about another literary thing that you were reminded of.
Yeah, and I hope that this is like a comparison that will get more people to want to play the game, because I could also see some people hearing a lot of the game journalists talking about how much it's like theater and kind of experiencing that as a turn off, like, oh, I'm not a theater kid, so I'm not going to like this. So hopefully this will kind of bring in some of the people who are feeling that way. I feel like it reminds me a ton of Douglas Adams, who wrote the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, to the Universe, et cetera, specifically in that way where he'll pick up these really specific ideas and bring them back around, these really absurd ideas. And he kind of plays with like the magical and the mundane, like making dolphins the most intelligent beings on Earth and coming from space. And, so the idea of like sending a fairy off to business school to get an MBA, you know, and like turning a magical thing into a mundane thing. And then like that idea that cars are fantastical or completely invented by humans and are a superstition. Just like all these little details like that feel so much like his writing. And just that experience, like the journey that Arthur Dent goes on in those books of discovering this galaxy that like exists much like human life on Earth does, but in some really bizarre ways, feels really relatable here.
Yeah, that's a good pull. It'd been too long for me since I read The Hitchhiker's Guide, but that's a good way to describe it, because like you said, the journey they go on is pretty similar to the way that your character in Titanium Court deals with this. Like, it's familiar enough, but all the I don't think that's true. Like I was gonna say, like, the core rules of things are similar, but all these little things that you would take for granted are different. Like, like the cars and like, you know, paying toll gates to goats and stuff like that. Like, the way that they, those things on the margins are just so out there, but like, it's not so alien and overwhelming that you're just like, I don't know what anything is. Like, I'm having a breakdown about all of this. Like, it's still, the court is still comfortable. Like, you know, they have food and stuff like that. Stuff is normal. But all these things on the edges are so weird and out there that I think that's a good comparison.
It's like when Arthur Dent's having a conversation with someone and you're like, this is a completely normal conversation. It just happens to be with an alien. And then they go, do you have your towel? Like, you obviously have to have your towel. And that's the kind of thing that happens constantly. It's like, oh no, another thing I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good pull. I'm glad you brought that. That definitely, I think, could help some people understand like the vibe of the writing in Titanium Court. Sure.
And I don't know. I personally don't feel like Douglas Adams is like super pretentious. I find his writing very funny, but not like, it's not highbrow, you know? So hopefully it'll draw some people in.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get pretentiousness out of Titanium Court's writing. I found it pretty fun loving most of the time. Like, there are some times where it seems like they turn and face the camera and they're like, I want to say this to you right now. Like, I want to make a statement right now. But most of the time it's just kind of fun. It's out there. It's weird a lot of times, but I didn't get a lot of pretentiousness out of it. Let's talk about the visuals and the music before we talk about gameplay. It's another thing that's really striking about Titanium Court, is number one, the color palette. It's going to be one of the first things you see. You'll see the pixel art. It's a pretty low fidelity pixel art. When you see screenshots of the fairies in the court, they're all little chunky, like 6 pixel, you know, Lego guys. They look like. Like, if you gave me a pixel art software and were like, draw a person, that would be like what I would come up with. But it all works in here with this like very zoomed out type of look. And then you have that color scheme. So it's like 4 colors. It's like dark blue, light blue, yellow, and pink. And that's basically all you get. Like, high contrast between those things, and everything is made out of those, and white. Of course, but like, everything's made out of those simple colors. I believe I listened to Gaming in the Wild's interview with AP Thompson, a friend of the show, John, over at Gaming in the Wild. And I believe AP said that they picked this color scheme just because they knew those colors worked together, not out of like this is the right color scheme for this game that I'm making. It's just, I know these colors work. I don't want to think about colors. These are the colors I'm using. But the result is a lot of really fun stuff that comes out of it. Like, the way that character portraits look when you see Puck like leaning back in his chair with his glass of wine, or when you see some of the other characters that pop up, when you see the bosses, when they get their kind of zoom ins, thinking of like the goat portraits, or when you see those those pop-up images that come up when you're in combat, or when you break one of the curses, you'll get like a series of images. I love especially those images. Can we just talk about that for a few minutes? Those are so good.
They are. And sometimes I like that they're sometimes metaphorical, especially during combat when, you know, an image pops up because you've just destroyed a castle or something.
Yeah.
It'll be like a guy smashing his guitar, or
like hitting a baseball. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love how there's just a lot of visual metaphor going on. It really feels like he took this like just very specific, very minimal art style and then was like, okay, let's see how far we can possibly take this without making it more complex.
Yeah.
Technically.
Those images are like, I think they follow the same logic as why memes are popular. Like, and when I say memes, I mean like old style memes, like advice animals on Reddit, like old style memes, where it's just a picture that so clearly conveys a feeling that like you see a guy dunking a basketball and you're like, I know what that feels like. Yeah. I know what that feels like on an 8-foot rim, but, or like hitting a baseball. I can
picture what that feels like.
Yeah. I have an idea. Or like, when you lose in combat, one of the things you'll see is like a Jenga tower falling down, or like a cat knocking something off of a ledge, like, you know, bad shit. When you free the court of one of its many curses, I remember they go through a series of images. There's like a toilet being plunged. There's, you know, stuff like
Band-Aids being applied.
Yeah. Really, just really fun stuff. The choice of those, I have screenshots of like every single one of those that came up because I was so like enamored by those choices and the way they use those. Very simple. They don't move. There's no animation to them. It's like the image will sometimes move across the screen, but it's not a moving image of someone hitting a baseball. It's just a still shot. And you're just like, hell yeah. That looked like he made good contact with that. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool because like there's one where there's like a dog that's catching a Frisbee, and the little art frame of the dog catching the Frisbee kind of moves across the screen in an arc that a dog catching a Frisbee would make. So it's so clever. I love too all the character portraits, and like the cats come up several times. Like everybody is in a position or making a facial expression that is so particular. You know what it means, and it's not just evoking like a simple like, oh, they're happy or they're upset or something. It's like a really, really hyper specific like micro expression, but somehow made with this incredibly low fidelity art. I really don't know how they achieved this. But it's so effective. And the cat's always in a bizarre position that is immediately identifiable, where it's like, I've seen a cat do that crazy acrobatic move, you know.
This is someone who has a cat. Maybe they just looked across the room and they were like, cat's in a weird, laying down in a weird, let me take a picture and then recreate that. So when I said that they chose like this really limited color palette, seemingly out of like convenience, more so than like, I have a color palette in mind for the game. It's not to say that they don't have artistic talent, because they clearly have a lot of it in the way they're able to convey character personalities, these moments again with those like still image, those memes, those reaction images, basically the way they're able to use those to convey emotions. That's really good. And the portraits that they do make are good. It's just pretty chunky. And I think it ends up being really inspired artistically, even though like you might look at a screenshot and be like, all right, well, the guy's got a funny face, you know, it's a nice character portrait, but the totality of the whole game, it's just really like funny to look at. Like, it's not just writing giving you humor. The art carries a lot of that too.
Yeah, I like that you bring up that if you look at the screenshots of this game, it kind of doesn't look like much on its own. And even like going through, because I took a million screenshots and I was like, this screenshot means so much to me right now, you know? But looking back at them even, I'm like, oh, this isn't it's not the most aesthetic thing you've ever seen. And a lot of the screenshots, I'm like, I don't know if I would actually just like post this, because I don't know if it's going to mean or like, you know, engage somebody visually the way that it felt when I took the screenshot, you know?
That screenshot of like, you've got the match 3 in the background and there's a picture of someone bowling a strike. And like taken out of context, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. And
there's like a lot of, you know, kind of void. There's a lot of empty negative space in every frame too.
Yeah. When you're exploring the court at night too, it's like a pretty small part of the screen where the game takes place. And then there's a lot of emptiness. And then you have like your UI elements like on the left side, and then you've got the curtains on either side, but it's not like they zoomed all the way in on anything. Like, not afraid of empty space for sure.
Yeah.
Soundtrack in this game is also pretty damn inspired, despite using pretty simple tools for most of it. Most of the soundtrack's just an electric guitar, maybe some percussion thrown in there. It's a very reverby electric guitar. And so that's your soundtrack to specifically the stuff that sticks out in the match 3 sections. You just got this kind of guitar is just giving you a basic strumming rhythm as you're planning. And then when you hit play, you get this like the guitar kicks in, does a little like guitar solo. I love that they have a fast forward button in combat. And if you hit that, the guitar fast forwards along with it. And it's really goofy. That's a great choice in my opinion. And then there's a lot of like eccentricities with just this like really guitar based stuff, like a lot of like slides and kind of loopy sounding stuff. Like when you're exploring the court at night or in the morning, it's very chill. The soundtrack when your character takes a shower is very like relaxing. And it's all, well, not all, but a lot of it is just a little bit of percussion, electric guitar. It's about all you got.
Yeah, it kind of has the vibe that you're just like, there's a guy in the corner just like, you know, fiddling away, just jamming kind of and noodling on stuff while you're playing. It's great.
You reminded me, I was in theater in high school, but I also played bass in high school. I mean, I still know how to play, but I would sometimes help out with the show choir, which I was not a part of, but the show choir would do performances and I would play bass. So I'd literally be standing on the side of the stage playing bass guitar, and there's like someone on a guitar playing along with the song that the show choir is singing and dancing to. So literally, maybe that is kind of the vibe. There's a guy on the side of the stage strumming along as you're strategizing in the match 3 stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And I imagine this is, I actually should have looked to see, I am assuming that this is all AP Thompson playing.
I believe so. I don't remember seeing anything about other performers like in the credits. I might be wrong though.
Yeah. But it just, it has that vibe of, I don't know if these tracks already existed and got added, you know, or some of them already existed and got added to the game. AP was like, hey, I got these files, let me throw them in. Or if it was just like, let me noodle and see what I can put together for this soundtrack. But it does have this very kind of informal vibe that somehow fits really well with the whole vibe of the game.
It does. There are some songs where
yeah.
How to describe? I think it's okay to just say it. There's some times in the game where you will have the option to watch a musical performance, and maybe we'll just talk about what those are later on.
Yeah.
I highly recommend at least once.
Yeah.
Watch the musical performance because they are they're special. And those are, without saying too much, those are the types of things that, like, again, if this was a team of like 30, 40, 50 people, I don't think those would make it into the game. But because it's basically one person's creative vision and they think this is funny or bizarre enough that you would choose to do it in the game, in the gameplay, like in the combat sections, it's just really endearing to me. Like, the songs are weird as hell, but my overwhelming feeling was just like kind of smiling and watching and just being like, this is so weird. I love it. I love that this is an idea that they had for like something you could choose to do in the game.
Yeah, just the premise of you could fight this boss or you could watch this music video.
Yeah.
Basically is just that's everything to me. That's incredible. And yeah, not only would most game dev teams not choose to do that, most people would not choose to do that.
Most
and
people wouldn't even suggest doing that.
To do that. Yeah. And it's just so inspired, and they're so clever. I do think that it becomes, that's like the one moment where visually you get a little like rotoscoping, right?
Yeah. It looked to me like it was actual video, like FMV, but heavily filtered to fit with the game's art style.
Which was also fun. It really was very, very clever. Again, so surprising. Delightful.
Yeah. You had a note too about sound design too, kind of using those same types of things that the soundtrack is built around.
Yeah, I think all of the sounds, I'm pretty sure all of the sound effects are also made by musical instruments. Most of them, I think, are drums, and they're very satisfying. There's like when you successfully do the match 3, you get kind of a series of like little hi-hat hits when the different tiles collapse. And I think there's maybe a teeny tiny hi-hat when you're like progressing through dialogue or something. And it's just I feel like it's all very satisfying, and it all makes for, it does kind of have that like house band feel that like there's the guitar guy in the corner, and then you've got the drummer who's just kind of like putting a little accent on every action, every little mark that gets hit.
Yeah. If there's a part in the game where things get kind of creepy, without saying too much, and the sound effect associated with that is this really unnerving sound effect that to me sounds like someone was scraping a guitar pick against guitar strings, with like really heavy like warping of the sound, but it sounds like that. Like very slowly taking a pick and scraping it across like the low strings on a guitar. And it ends up being like really like gets the hair on the back of your neck raised up. It's a weird sound. So I definitely would not be surprised if most, if not all of the sound effects also came from stuff like that. A person doing what they can with what they have, and what they're good at using, to produce whatever sounds they need. So very cool.
Yeah, and I think both on the sound design level and the visuals, it's just the consistency makes it, even though it's all very kind of lo-fi, it just the fact that it commits to those decisions like really makes it work overall.
Yeah, it's a really great soundtrack. It's been one that I've been listening to a lot on YouTube as I write podcast outlines, for example. But sometimes I do get thrown off by those creepy ones that are in the soundtrack. But it's really good. Good stuff. Let's talk about what it's like to play Titanium Court. Like I said earlier, you're divided into the day and the night. Well, morning, day, and night. Morning is pretty quick. There's not a whole lot to do during the mornings. Go eat breakfast, get a little boost to your starting resources. That's usually it. And then you go to war during the day. Every day the court goes to war. You pick a job that will determine what your goal is in the war, how you make money. The default job that you start with gives you money for destroying other enemy courts, Everything's presented in this grid, this match 3 grid, and you can see other courts on there. You can see resources. You can see everything that's important on there. And so your job determines what your goals are. They start you with the one that you expect. This is how I'm going to play the game, is I'm going to destroy the courts. We're at war. That's what we're doing. But then every other job that you unlock gives you very different goals and really like drastically changes how you play this war section of the game.
Yeah, I loved the design of the different jobs because I think that it to me, this is where the match 3 and tower defense gameplay becomes like has depth. It becomes something that you can come back to over and over again and keep playing. I think it has a ton of replayability because of that. On its own, just the tower defense and match 3 stuff is fun, but pretty, I don't want to say shallow, but it's like pretty straightforward. But the jobs do really completely change. Like I think the second one you unlock every time is the one where you have kind of fire abilities, and it completely upends how you approach everything that you're doing, both in the match 3 and in the tower defense portions. But I do think that overall, like every new job you get kind of adds to your understanding of the systems of the war as kind of a whole game design system. And doesn't kind of make you feel like you're relearning a game from scratch. I kept thinking about another game that we both recently played, Death Howl, where when you do kind of get different classes, I did feel like in Death Howl I was having to kind of learn the game from scratch all over again. But this, I feel like kind of you just expand your understanding, and it brings a lot of depth to the gameplay.
Yeah. The result of that is that there were often things when I was in that starting job where you're supposed to destroy the other courts. There were things that would come up, like certain merchants or like the market where you can trade resources for money or stuff like that. And I just like didn't really engage with that because it wasn't super relevant to what I was doing. I had better uses for money and stuff like that. And then I got into my favorite job. The one that was easiest for me was the economist or whatever it is, where you only make money by trading resources. So it would be like this area of the map that I'm on doesn't have any trees, so wood's really expensive. If I have a bunch of wood, I can really cash in on this screen because the market's always there. And it's just completely different. Now suddenly I'm trying to manipulate what resources are around so I could get the best price at the market and get the most money. And then I could use all that money to buy things to like basically make combat not really a thing. Like I can just avoid combat at all. Because I'm going to use that money to buy spells to surround myself with water so no one can get close to me. Like it totally changes how you play it. So it's like you start as a tower defense game, and you're always like trying to protect the court, but the ways that you protect the court become so different. There was one of the classes you unlock later is like you get money for enemy soldiers being on the field. It's called like the celebrity or something.
Yeah.
Paparazzi, something like that. And you get money when a new enemy spawns on the field. So, in the high tide section, the match 3 section, usually you try to match up 3 courts to remove the possibility of enemies spawning, make it as easy as possible. With that job, I was like, I want as many enemies as possible, and I need to make sure they can't reach the court. But I don't want to kill them, and I don't want to stop them from spawning because I get more money the more enemy soldiers are out there. And so I think there's like 6 or 7 jobs-ish, and I tried all of them. All of them felt very different. I never got the handle on the youngster, which is the one that makes money by burning stuff. But
that one took me some time, but that might be my favorite now.
Okay. Hell yeah. I was going to say, I always like appreciated them for how they changed the way that I approach the whole strategy, like war section of this. So this could have gotten really old. Like doing the match 3, sending out soldiers, I hate tower defense in like every video game that throws tower defense at me. I'm like, fuck you, get this out of my face. So like when I heard Titanium Court's tower defense, I was like, all right, we'll see. But the fact that it doesn't really have to even be tower defense, you can go about it. The paparazzi job, they give you a thing to build walls and you just surround yourself with walls and that's all you're really doing. So I love the way that it totally changed what this is. And instead of very basic tower defense getting old over the course of 10, 15 hours, it was always fresh. Like every single run, I was like, I have a new idea. I have a new job. I have a new goal. The mechanics of how I'm doing things are always the same, but the way my end goal is always so different that it was super fresh all the time.
And you see things in certain runs because there are certain structures that are kind of randomized, but you know you're about to approach one eventually. You can kind of choose which infrastructure is available to you on the next battle. So like you can choose to go to a shop or like heal at a hospital. But then there are randomized structures that give you benefits that you don't know you're going to encounter. And like you said, sometimes, in my first couple runs, I remember encountering things where I was like, why? I don't know why I would want to do this. But then over time, the more you understand the jobs, I'd encounter something and go, oh, next time I'm going to use this other job because now I see the value in interacting with this thing.
Yeah.
So and even the bosses, I think there are certain bosses that just immediately lend themselves more to certain approaches with the different jobs.
Yeah. At the end of every run, you'll go through a series of stages, I guess. And then at the end, there's always a boss. The bosses themselves are always very different from each other. Their gimmicks are very different. But you also always have alternate ways to win a run without fighting the boss, which I thought was great. Some of them are like things you slowly learn about as you play the game and as you talk to people, as you explore the court. Sometimes you'll read something or overhear something or have a weird dream or, something like that. And then, like you said, sometimes you get the option to watch a musical performance. Like it's kind of like you made it to the end of the game. You made it to the end of the run. You've got a good thing going here. So fuck it. Enjoy a song. You don't have to fight the boss. It counts as a win just the same. There's also like a kind of select your own difficulty thing in here where you can select levels of comfort or strife. And as you play, every run that you play, you'll see a wine glass filling up. And when it reaches the top, you can choose +1 comfort or +1 strife. And so as you play, you can continuously make the game easier for yourself or harder by giving yourself special modifiers at the beginning of a run. So like if you're not great at tower defense strategy, you can just keep playing the game. It will get easier the more you play. Just choose comfort and the game doesn't punish you for it. In fact, they reward you with some really interesting conversations and side quests and stuff like that. So it's very friendly. It's not trying to be sweaty about this tower defense stuff, which I appreciate because I hate tower defense and I'm bad at it, which is probably most of the reason I hate it,
That's fair. And I think I like that the game does this kind of universally. There's no bad way to play it. When you're presented with two choices, neither one is ever bad. It's very non-judgmental about what you decide to do when you're in the court or at war.
Right. You always have so much to explore. Like the game keeps a to-do list of stuff that you should be trying for. There's curses to lift. You have to figure out how to lift the curses, but there's 13 curses to lift. And then you'll consistently get these like, try doing this when you fight the Kraken, or try doing this, try to get this amount of money in one run, or try to kill this number of soldiers in one run. And that's a very brief, there's so many things on that to-do list. So you may be compelled to like play this game for a really long time to try to do everything in it. And the game has some interesting ideas about that too. So Let's talk real quick about the high tide and low tide stuff. So in your runs, in the war phase of the game, it's broken up into high tide and low tide. High tide is match 3. So you get the field, you'll see where your court is, you'll see where the enemy courts are, and you'll see a bunch of other tiles for resources, forest, water, hills, stuff like that. And then you play match 3. If you match 3 trees, you get some wood resource. If you match 3 enemy courts, they all disappear and you have less courts to deal with. You do have a limited number of moves. You can also move the court if you want like a slightly better positioning. You can do that. It costs a lot of your movement resource, but everyone starts like this. Do you feel like you can strategize in match 3? Because I don't feel like I can. I just kind of like, I don't know if I need more wood, but I don't see a way to do anything other than match these trees. So fuck it. I'm matching the trees. Like, I don't know how you approach this.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I could be very strategic. I don't play a lot of match 3, and that's on me. I think I judge it unfairly as sort of a mobile game type,
I mean,
convention.
I don't think that that's totally unfair.
I think it is. But so I just haven't played a whole lot of it. So I think sometimes I was able to go to like see just one step ahead. Like, okay, if I get rid of these 3, then this next row of wheat will then connect and that will also disappear. And if you can do that really effectively, you can kind of like earn yourself more turns with the match 3 too. But no, I didn't feel like I was super good at that.
I would say I could basically never see even one step ahead. It was always like, if I set off a crazy chain reaction, it was a complete accident.
Yeah. It's also not like a huge grid too, so you really can't see that many steps ahead. Like once more tiles start coming down pretty quickly that you can't see and you don't know what's coming next. So I think it doesn't really let you strategize too much.
Yeah. So like you may be incentivized to try for a particular resource, like whatever your starting units are in the tower defense, they all have a resource cost. So it's like this thing costs 3 rock and 1 food to put out there. I need to get as much rock as possible. And then I go in. So the way that I would strategize for that is you always have a choice of 3 kind of arenas, 3 stages, and they'll tell you like this one has more of this resource, none of this resource. And I just got to pick one that has a bunch of rock on it, because I'm not going to be able to strategize to specifically get as much rock during the match 3 part. So maybe it's not designed to be super strategic in that way, or maybe I'm just bad at it. Both are equally possible. And then after high tide, you do your match 3, you run out of turns, and then it goes to low tide. Low tide is when you can visit shops and stuff like that. But low tide is when the tower defense plays out. So it gives you a timeline. Whatever you had, whatever the field was at the end of the match 3 section will get locked into place. And then whatever, like say there's 5 enemy courts on the field, you'll then see when on the timeline those 5 courts are going to spawn their soldiers, so you can prepare. So it's like, oh, they're all not going to spawn until like pretty late in there. If my court's really far away, they might not have time to reach me. Or maybe they'll have time, but I don't have to spawn my soldiers right away. I can spawn my farmers and they can go out and get food. So there is a lot of strategy in I always felt like when to spawn how many, because I don't want to wipe all my resources out in one low tide. And then you press the button and it plays automatically. You get to listen to that awesome catchy jingle. And then you just kind of watch it play out and see how see if you made good strategic planning moves, which I don't know about you, I'm pretty bad at this. So there were a lot of times when I either wildly over-prepared or very much under-prepared. And I was like, we're halfway through and my court is surrounded. And I'm like, why didn't I kill all these things? What happened here? I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think I generally erred on the over-preparing side. If I underprepared, it usually meant I did a terrible job at the match 3 or at just budgeting my resources in previous battles. I also generally, I think, underestimated how slow a lot of the little guys are, for better or for worse, because I think a lot of the enemy units are very slow, but so are your little dudes as they're walking around. I also started having to pay a little bit more attention. I think my fatal flaw with the tower defense portion was remembering which units were offensive versus defensive, because if they're offensive, if you're getting attacked, they won't go back to save the court. They will just keep attacking like a random empty enemy court while you're getting fucked over. So
we should say they auto attack. You don't get to pick like you go here, you go here, you go here. It's just you just set them free, and whatever their primary motive is, that's what they do. Like you said, if they're attack soldiers, they're not going to turn around and come back. So you got to choose wisely. You can buy more units at the shop. You can find them in treasure chests. Like there's a lot of ways to build out what's available to you. But I always found, at least like probably the first half of the game, the resources were the limiting thing. Where it'd be like, I would really love to have 5 of this unit, but I only have enough rock to do 2 of them. So I hope that's enough, because I'm stuck with what I have once we get to low tide.
Yeah, it's really true. And I felt like some of the runs that I had, I was able to basically in the first battle eliminate all enemy units. Which made it great. I mean, that set me up to win the whole rest of the thing, because I could just kind of farm resources. So, but I don't know if that's like statistically, there are some like comfort buffs that you can choose at the beginning to like artificially have, fewer enemy units. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on beneath the surface. Like, the machinations of how like all these systems work are interesting, but I think there's more that's not like surface to the player.
I'm sure that there was a lot of balancing work, especially with how different the jobs can be and how different your approaches can be. I found that economist job was pretty busted. Like I could just get so many resources out of it. But maybe by the time I unlocked that, my comfort level was pretty high. Like the stat comfort was pretty high. So I would start out with a thing that gives you another shot if you lose, a mulligan. I would start out with like an extra unit for free. I would start with, there's some other ones that give you like really great passive buffs. So I chose to make the game easier as I went along, because I always had different goals in combat. And several of them were predicated on me like getting pretty far into a run. So I don't know. I would be interested to talk to or hear from somebody who like played this on high strife. Like, does this tower defense or like the combination of match 3 into tower defense, does it engage people who like really love a deep strategic tower defense, or is it does it seem like that to me because I'm pretty bad at it in general? Like,
that's
I'm
a
not
good
sure.
question. I wonder the same for myself. I also erred on the side of comfort the whole time, partly because I was playing it sort of on a deadline for review, and I was like, I don't hate myself. Like, obviously, I'm going to make it easier for myself as I go. So, yeah.
But again, I want to reiterate that both of us have kind of said, not great at match 3, maybe not great at tower defense either, but this is really fun. I liked this quite a bit. Yeah. And maybe because it is leaning more on that easier side, and just kind of like, hey, if you spawn one unit 5 seconds too late, you're not going to get wrecked because of that, not like that level of mistake. If there's a bunch of enemies and you just like can't clear them, and then you don't have the resources to spawn defenders, you're going to get swarmed, but you got yourself in a bad spot. Like, I think that's totally fair. But I love the way that the match 3 stuff feeds into the tower defense stuff. The different jobs change the way you approach the tower defense stuff. The way that the tower, this whole phase is tied in with the goals that you get from the nighttime, the exploration, the like kind of adventure game sections. And so again, it was like I would finish a run. At night after the run, you can explore the court and talk to people. There's ways to spend your unused resources. There's goals there. There's like an anti-match 3 game that you can play with the cat in the pantry. And so like that feeds into that part of the game. And then I learn something new about the story, which then gives me a new goal for the next war phase. And it just keeps feeding into itself in a really compelling way. So yeah. I think that this is a big win to take these things that seem simple and they're genres that I don't generally like and turn it into something that I was like really, really engaged with the whole time. Like always up for it. Like when I beat the game, it wasn't because I was tired of playing it. It was just like, I think this is a good time to finish the game. Like narratively, I should finish the game right now. You can choose when you do it. It wasn't because I was like, get me out of this tower defense. Not really at all.
No, I love the gameplay. And I think the wars are just a perfect amount of time. I'd say it's maybe about, the way I was playing it, it would take about 30 minutes to go through all the stages of the war and a boss, which was just a perfect amount to then flow into the story. And I mean, this is a very bingeable game to me. And like, I like what you said at the beginning, that it's not trying to kind of play with you and take advantage of sort of the dopamine hits. Like it's engaging. So I can play this for like 5-6 hours at a time and just still feel like I'm having a good time. I'm in the groove. I'm not like being artificially like manipulated by the game structure. I'm just fascinated. I'm in the world, you know?
Yeah. You close your eyes and you see the match 3 board.
Right.
With the, I love, just side note, I love how, I love the shower thoughts sections where you like your character takes a shower, you do match 3 with like bars of soap and bubbles and stuff like that. And when you match up 3 thought bubbles, they'll muse on something. It's a way for the game to give you a hint about like maybe a strategy you've never tried before. Or maybe they'll ruminate on what's going on in the story right now. I love those. Never skipped one. It's just, they never missed a chance to turn something into match 3 in a fun way. We'll say.
Yeah, that's so true. That is really true. Yeah. And having those little private reflections on, what was going on in the court were fun. Anytime we got like a little window into the main character was fun and interesting to me too.
Yeah. I want to kind of revisit quickly what you talked about there with the game being bingeable and engaging without feeling like it's predatory in the way that I feel. I feel like I'm a little extra sensitive to this, like more so than some other people. I'm pretty sick of the gambling roguelikes because I mean, certain ones, the abstraction is enough where it's not like, you know, like Balatro, you're not actually playing poker. It's like it's a strategy game. There's some where it's like, you're just playing the gambling machine and it's using the same type of psychology that the gambling machines use. And it's that like, oh man, I did everything right, but random chance took it away from me. I'll do better next time. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Really, I wouldn't say that it doesn't like offend me, but I don't respect it as much, like as a way to hold someone's attention. Which I guess I'm saying that I've kind of soured on Vampire Survivors a little bit, like with the way that game uses those same principles. And so like, I think one of the things that's going around in like games criticism discourse these days is the concept of games being addicting, and how for a little while that was a good thing to describe a game as addicting. And then some people are pushing back on that and being like, it's actually not great for anything to be addicting. Like we can either use better words or not design things that are designed to prey on you in those ways. And so I want to just like, just touch on like that concept, because I agree with you. Titanium Court is something that I just find myself keeping like playing for hours and hours, which I've said this a lot, but I don't tend to sit and play one game for 3-4 hours at a time. Even if I have 4 straight hours of uninterrupted time to play games, I will play something for an hour. I'll turn it off. I'll write down some notes, and then I'll play something else for an hour, and I'll turn it off, and, like that. But this is one that I could play for many hours in a row, and I don't feel like it's because it's throwing flashing lights at me or throwing jingling coin sound effects or that kind of like random chance-based stuff that some things feel like they're preying on what slot machines do, where you're like, I was so close, but it just, unlucky. Well, let me give it another pull, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that that Titanium Court is like that at all. Mm-hmm. And I think that like we got to have a better way to describe games that keep us locked in without being predatory like that. Because I do think that games can do it in healthy and interesting ways. Mm-hmm. Not everything does though.
Yeah, like when I'm playing Titanium Court, as I did last night actually, for like 5-6 hours straight, I'm experiencing the same feeling that I do when I'm really locked in on a book. I'm like on a new book series, and I'm like, I want to know everything about this world, and these characters are fascinating to me, and every page turn brings me something new. I learn something. That's how I feel when I play Titanium Court. And I agree. I think any game, whether they're setting out to be quote unquote addictive or not, but any game that's like most of the game loop is revolving around RNG, at least has the potential to some people to be addictive and have that kind of slot machine effect. Yeah. And I do think it's something that especially people making roguelites need to be thinking about and be mindful of. And I think that you can design games around those mechanics where you're still maybe bringing a certain amount of skill or doing something interesting with narrative, where you're letting people kind of pull back from that, and sort of maintain the awareness at least of how they're engaging with the game. So I like everything you just said about that. I agree.
Yeah, it kind of just comes from, again, the somewhat recent pushback on describing games as addictive as a good thing. Mm-hmm. I think that, again, we can either use better words or we can call out those types of predatory game design as something that's not good, or at least not something to strive for. Titanium Court's a good way to show something on like the other side. This is really compelling. It's really interesting. And I'm locked in because it's interesting, not because I'm like, lizard brain tells me I'll win it next time, Yeah. So, yeah. With that being said, I think it's a good time to get into who we would recommend to play Titanium Court before we jump into spoilers. So, do you have a particular type of person? Well, again, we get back to that difficult task of describing the game, but now we're describing who does this game appeal to? Because it's an odd one. It's a unique game, not going to appeal to everybody, but it's got a lot going for it. So, yeah, throwing this grenade over to you first.
Jeez. I mean, it's tough because, I think that it's not a game that requires a huge amount of skill. So I think it's potentially approachable for any, or maybe not any gamer, but many, many gamers with many different levels of experience with all kinds of games and with Match 3 and Tower Defense specifically. I think that thematically and in terms of how the narrative is delivered and all the kind of theatricalness of it and the sense of humor, I think my concern is that the way it gets described maybe kind of pigeonholes it in terms of its audience, that like, oh, you have to be a theater person or you have to be a bookworm or really into literature to appreciate this. But I think that the audience is actually broader. Like, I think, even if you aren't a fan of Shakespeare or the classics or, Douglas Adams, like I think that many, many people could pick this up and enjoy it. I think if you are somebody who maybe primarily plays mobile games, but you don't want something, this is another thing that drives me nuts about mobile games and that addictiveness, is that many of them literally are trying to be addictive. But
Yeah,
so
I mean,
if
like the Candy Crush, like Match 3, that's the poster child for stuff like that.
literally is like trying to create this dopamine loop. So if that's the kind of game that maybe you are drawn to or have a lot of experience with, but you're sick of that monetization model and those kind of addictive experiences, this would be such a breath of fresh air, for someone who's used to this kind of gameplay, but like doesn't usually get an interesting story or attempt at like a cool visual, aesthetic like this. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that I really answered the question, but that's what I'm going with.
I think that the listeners can hear that and be like, yeah, that sounds like me. So it's good. It's a difficult one to be like this particular person that I know and their tastes. Well, they love Shakespeare and they love Match 3 and they love Tower Defense and they love adventure games. So man, Titanium Court was made for them. I don't really know anyone that fits that.
Yeah.
I want to touch on that like theater kid, or that idea that like something's inspired by something's even making direct references to something. You don't have to like that thing. In this case, you don't have to be a scholar of Midsummer Night's Dream to get what Titanium Court's doing. You made me think when you were talking there, you made me think of the example of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which is what do they call it? An allegory to the Odyssey. But you don't need to have seen the Odyssey to understand the story, or read the Odyssey, seen it. Like it wasn't a book for thousands of years before it was a movie. You don't need to have read the Odyssey to understand the movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's just a story that, like, if you know those things, maybe you'll pick up on it and be like, it's pretty neat what they're doing with it, but you don't have to. And I feel the same way about Titanium Court, because until 2 weeks ago, I didn't know it was based on A Midsummer Night's Dream at all. I didn't know the Queen of Titania. I didn't know who Puck was. I didn't know any of that. And the game still worked for me just the same. And honestly, reading the plot summary of A Midsummer Night's Dream didn't change the way I view what Titanium Court's doing. So just to put that out there, like if someone is like, oh, theater references, I'm not a theater person, or I don't remember, don't worry. It will not affect it in a negative way, I don't think.
Yeah, I think this is a game, because it's so approachable, because it's not, we're not talking about a Souls-like where you have to have a certain amount of skill or, and the gameplay is such a, I don't know, I think we can safely say like Match 3 has a lot of mass appeal to it, maybe because it is so approachable to kind of grok. Like I don't think that there's any one group that I'd say is or isn't gonna be suited to this. Anybody could enjoy it. So, and I think the demo is still out there. So this is one where it's like, I think if you hear or see anything about it and it sounds interesting to you, try the demo.
Yeah, I think you'll know within the first half hour or so whether you like what the game is doing. And want to keep playing. So yeah. Plus you're an hour and 20 minutes into this podcast. You've heard a lot of detail about what the game's doing and what we think it does well. So yeah. We can always fall back on the fact that they've listened to an hour and 20 minutes of the podcast and should be able to decide by now. So yeah, it's good though. It's a good game. So before we get into spoilers, let's talk about the stuff that you're doing, Emily. And I think since the last time you were on the show, you've probably added some more stuff that you're doing. So we've got No Small Games podcast. We've got your streams. We've got the No Small Games website, which I think is a lot more active now than previous times you've been on the show. A lot more stuff going up on there. Not that it wasn't, a thing back then. But yeah, please tell the people about No Small Games, about your streams, anything else you want to direct them to.
Yeah. Well, first off, I know we're not wrapping up, but thank you, Dave, for having me. Anytime Dave Jackson says you want to be on Tales of the Backlog, the answer is yes. But when Dave says you want to talk about Titanium Court on Tales from the Backlog, the answer is hell fucking yeah. So thank you. Let's see. No Small Games is, it actually similar to Titanium Court. It's becoming more and more difficult to describe what we are. I guess we're now sort of an indie game media outlet. Me and my partner and platonic wife, Kate, started the No Small Games podcast like 3 years ago to talk about indie games, which we both love, indie games of all genres. But we wanted it to be very conversational and almost kind of book club style. So we have our podcast. It's on all the podcast apps and platforms. Like you mentioned, we also have nosmallgames.com. You can find all the episodes there, but we also have kind of a list style articles and indie game event recaps. We just got to go to Summer Game Fest, which was awesome. And then we have indie game reviews on there as well. And we just started publishing all of our episodes on YouTube as well, which has been exciting and nerve-wracking. We now have to do our makeup before, well, don't have to, but do our makeup before every recording now. So yeah, we're doing a lot. We're all over the place. And I guess the big news, which I don't know, when does this come out? This
End of
comes
July.
out soon. So, okay. I think I can say this. Our next appearance, we're going to be at PAX West
Oh, hell yeah.
at the beginning of September. And we're really excited for that. It's going to be our first PAX West.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Love that for you guys. It's been awesome since I got to know you all a couple years ago. It's been awesome to see you grow and expand what No Small Games can be. I've always liked the podcast. I still listen to it and enjoy it quite a bit. But like I said at the beginning, one of the reasons I wanted to play Titanium Court was the review that you wrote for it, which is something that you and Kate are both doing more of as you go. So definitely a lot of stuff. Always want to shout out people that are writing. I just enjoy when people flex that muscle. It's fun to podcast, but it's also fun to read. It's fun to... It's different. It's a different form of expressing the way that you feel about something you've played or something like that. So direct people to the website for sure. Also the podcast. And then you're streaming quite a bit still.
Yeah, I'm a little less consistent these days, hoping to get back to like 3 streams per week, but I stream on Twitch as a specific egg, and I'm usually playing games for the podcast. So if you're curious about what we're going to be talking about in 2 to 6 weeks on No Small Games, I'm usually playing a game for the show.
That's what I would like to do with my Twitch channel too. I just rarely find the energy to fire it up and stream and be on for, in the evenings. So props to you for doing that.
You do so much. I genuinely don't know how you play as many games as you play and produce as much content as you produce. So yeah, we're anytime we can get a Dave Jackson, Twitch stream, we are lucky and grateful for that.
A rare treat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll put links down in the show notes. As always, people can check out the podcast, check out the No Small Games website, give you a follow on Twitch, and follow the YouTube channel if that's how you like to partake in your podcasts. So as the spoiler break music is playing, as I'm saying thank you to everybody, go queue up some No Small Games stuff, open some tabs, and you'll find some good stuff in there. So with that being said, the only plug for myself I didn't do yet, I don't know why I always wait till now, but the Discord server is open. It's an active, lively, friendly place of people who love to talk about games and movies and books they're reading and stuff like that. We'd love to have everyone. It's a public Discord. There's an invite link in the show notes for that if you'd like to join us. So with that being said, we're going to take our spoiler break. When we come back, it's going to be full spoiler time for Titanium Court. Before we get to full spoiler time for Titanium Court, I want to take a quick minute and say thank you to the patrons who help support the show. A big hearty thank you and shout out goes out to Chris Nelson, Zulgeek, Chris Copleen, Rick Firestone, Nick Fakori, Soccer, Cupcake, Kyle, Christian S., Matt aka Stormageddon, JD, Doug Leaf, Jason Emery, Brian Skirsha, Jenny E., Marcus O'Neill, Stefan, Drellish, Rigamort, Silcanet, Levi, John E., Aliasi, Aaron, Alan Kress, Doug T., Retro Overdrive, Magic Crow, Curly Bright, Ian L., Steve Yeager, Trash Dog Actual, Delaney and Jack McBride, Michael Lassen, Michael Matuzak, Keith B., A Quack a Day, Jake Martin, Mike Kniff, Kugel, Kid Chemical, and many more. Once again, these fine folks have all chosen to go to patreon.com/realdavejackson to kick me a few bucks a month and help support what I'm doing here on the show. It's much appreciated. It helps out in a lot of different ways, and you can be just like them. Again, patreon.com/realdavejackson is the place. Coming up at the beginning of August, we will have our monthly poll with all games selected by patrons, so get to vote for what games I cover on the show. My bonus retro gaming series, Tales from the Way Backlog, has a new episode out about Castlevania 1. There's a lot of fun stuff happening over there, so head on over if that sounds fun to you, and I thank you for considering it. Now, with that being said, let's get back to full spoiler time for Titanium Court. All right, we're back. It's full spoiler time for Titanium Court. And usual disclaimers before we get into it. Number one, this is not a linear walk through the game. So if you're halfway through, you don't want to know how it ends. We might spoil that very soon. This is full spoilers. And the other thing is, this game is quite dense. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of dialogue, a lot of characters, a lot of quests, stuff to do. I didn't do all of it. Emily didn't do all of it. I don't claim to be an expert on everything, including the things that I did. We're gonna talk about the curses we lifted, and then we're gonna talk about what this game is talking about thematically. I want to spend some time talking about that. So, give me some grace if we don't talk about something that you think is cool. Hop in Discord and let me know. So, with that being said, Emily, how many curses did you lift?
In my first playthrough, I lifted 4 out of the 13 curses.
Okay. And on this new playthrough, any?
Just 3, and I think it's 3 of the original 4 that I did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I lifted 6 of the curses.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things about the curses is they will give you the title of the curse on your to-do list, but they won't tell you what it is. There's an NPC you can talk to that will give you a hint about what the curse is. But sometimes even their hints are pretty opaque, we'll say. So when I lifted a curse, it was usually an accident. Or it was usually like I did a thing on my checklist that I knew how to do. I didn't know it would lift a curse. That's what happened. So of the list that I have here in the notes, do you recognize any of the ones that you know that you did?
Yeah, I actually did the last 4 on your list.
So I guess the simpler ones, the curse of losing, we think I forget exactly how it happens, but you have to win a run and then like be winning on the high school football stadium scoreboard that's in the court. I think that's it.
Yeah. I think you have to have won more than you lost. So maybe you have to win 2 wars. Because I think is there a scripted failure at the very beginning? I think you always lose the first one.
You'll probably just lose because you're not good enough, but I don't remember if it's scripted. I do remember, I think I lifted this one and the curse of guardianship at the same time, because as you're playing the match 3 things, sometimes you'll find an egg. You can pick up the egg. They call it the football. And if you take the egg to the end zone, you win the run without letting the enemies destroy it. You break the curse of guardianship. But that also gives you 6 points on the scoreboard because you scored a touchdown. And I think that's how I took the lead in the
I didn't realize that. I didn't put that together. That's so funny.
I think that's how it happened.
Yeah.
This was several weeks ago now. The curse of resistance, I don't remember exactly the story with the jar, but it's opening that jar.
Yeah. The jar, you break it. It has a set of hit points. And you don't have to break it all in one run. Like if you do any damage to it, that damage like persists across each run. And then doesn't the jar have has your storage locker keys or something?
Probably has a key.
I think so.
That's another thing. So your primary goals, I guess, if you had like 2 main things that you're striving for in these runs, is trying to find the keys so that you can open the gate. You need 4 keys to leave the court. and then trying to break the curses. And a lot of times, I guess they probably tie into each other decently well. The curse of petrification. I don't remember the full story with this one. It had something to do with you find a stop sign and everyone in the court, all the fairies like freeze because they think they have to stop. And then you explain to them what a stop sign is, and then they start moving again and the curse is lifted. I think that's how it went down.
Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah. The curse of innocence is there's a cat in the court who gives you a goal of either a total number of kills through all your runs or killing a certain number of soldiers in one run. It's quite high, so I could never do the one run thing. But I did do the total one because I just did so many. Eventually I broke it. It's the curse of innocence. I remember the little picture for the Steam achievement is a cat holding a dead mouse in its mouth. So that's the curse of innocence. And then the other one is the curse of employment that I broke, which is, I remember the hint too, because you think like, well, I'm jobs, like capital J jobs are a thing in this game. I was like, it's something to do with my jobs. And the hint you get is like, maybe it's breaking the curse of employment for someone else. Mm-hmm. And the way you do it is you have to do something with those dire goats that are at the toll booths. I think the way that you do it is you have to not pay the tolls so they get mad and they start following you, but not kill them because then they go away. And there's 3 of them. And if you get them all on the same field at the end and you don't kill them and they survive, because you can like charm them. That's usually what I did, is use a charm spell.
Oh, yeah.
But then they'll start attacking enemies.
Oh,
and if they get killed by those or killed by volcanoes or something, then you fail. So you have to keep them all alive, and then you have to match 3 with the 3 goats. You get to the last thing, they're really spread out, so you have to survive a round, and then the next time they're all bunched up and you can match them together.
Cute. Oh.
Yeah. It's real involved.
Yeah.
And the result is that there are 3 brothers who I guess have been split apart. And so they get together and they get fired from their job for not collecting the tolls. And that lifts the curse of employment, which I thought was really good.
I love that. I have been assuming, I was actually surprised when I broke the curse of guardianship, because there's the egg, which I was really committed to the egg at first when I first started playing, and then it screwed me over so many times because you get a big debuff if the egg gets defeated in some way, gets broken. But I finally did it, and I have always, I assumed for a lot of the time that the goal with the egg and then one of the bosses, the dragon. I've been assuming that if you bring the egg to the dragon and survive that and the egg survives it, that something happens, but I haven't been able to do that. So I don't know. Some of these are really, really involved, and you have to have the right conditions, and you have to just be good enough, I guess, to make it all happen.
Yeah. There was one I remember, something on my to-do list. I assume it's related to a curse or maybe a key, but it's like, I did this weird dream sequence with the Kraken where I was like playing as the Kraken's kid, and it was super fucking weird. But the end result of that is I got this to-do list item that was like, get a pumpkin, bring it to the Kraken, set it on fire, put these like specific resources out, and then something will happen with the Kraken. And I kind of looked at it, like half tried it once, and I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. That seems like too much. I've heard from some people in my Discord, people who kind of go nuts for this type of thing, like these types of mysteries. They were like, getting all 13 curses is kind of insane. Like a lot of them gave up on it. So I don't even know, like there's 7 more. I don't really know what they involve.
Yeah. There's some animal level, stuff going on here with like just the level of secrets and having to put together things that are very disparate across the game.
It gave me, I don't know if, I know you love blueprints quite a bit. it gave me that same kind of feeling I had with Blueprints, where I was like approaching each new day with several things that I was interested in exploring.
Yeah.
And eventually, one of the ways that Titanium Court makes that easier is you can kind of manipulate everything. You can choose what boss you want to face. You can choose your job starting out. You can do all the things with the comfort. You eventually get a way where you can just sleep through the day and go straight to the nighttime. There's a lot of stuff you can do to like mitigate RNG type stuff, which Blueprints you'd have to start a run and then adapt to what the run gave you. But it did give me that same thing where I was like, I have a checklist of a bunch of stuff I'm really interested in exploring for sure.
Oh yeah, constantly. And then new things keep being presented too. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh boy, do I pursue this thing or do I go with my to-do list? Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's like, just for example, like, did you get the journal and then go to the end of it and read? There's a journal entry that
Yes.
your character doesn't remember writing, and that turns into this weird alternate match 3 game.
Yeah. With the
Yeah.
monastery, and
Yeah.
I was tripping out. I was like, but it was fun because when I got the journal, that was like, I don't know. I just knew. I was like, the last journal entry is going to be something
Something
interesting
weird.
here. Yeah.
I remember doing that, like at the end of a play session where I was like, I have a weird thing where I need to leave a game off in like a very clean way. Like if I
Yeah.
have a bunch of very small tasks, I want to get them. This is how I operate in real life too. Like, I can't walk away from my work computer if I have unread emails, like that kind of, I'm that kind of person.
Yeah.
So I would always end a play session where they were like, you got this journal. Oh, I got to check out the journal before I turn this off. And there's this weird thing at the end of it. And it turned into like this 45-minute alternate like storyline I'm playing through. And the whole time I'm like, I should be going to bed, but what the fuck is this? This
Yeah.
is so weird.
I actually I did that the first time after I rolled credits. And it hadn't occurred to me to look at the end of the journal until I did that. So in my head, I connected that as something that only appeared after you've rolled credits. But that is, now I know, not the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very interesting. Lots
Yeah.
of little stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Little stuff we mentioned before, but I do want to just like say it in case someone's just kind of listening and not going to play the game. Those musical performances are an actual video of AP Thompson walking out with a guitar, and like they all begin with him saying, "Hi, I'm AP Thompson. I would like to play you a song."
Yeah.
And it's like heavily filtered. It's like kind of 1-bit art style, like a Return of the Obra Dinn looking.
Yeah.
But I think it's still like FMV. It's just heavily modified. And then he sings these songs that are just like singer-songwriter type songs, but they're so out there. Like the lyrics to them are so weird. It's not like they don't fit with all the other weird stuff in Titanium Court, but it's like, it's the type of song. And I don't mean to say this in an insulting way, but if I heard someone at an open mic singing that song, I'd be like, get them the fuck off the stage. I don't want to hear this. But within the context of Titanium Court, I guess I'm already primed for something like that. And it's just like, all right, man, let's hear it. Let's hear how weird can you go?
Yeah. The first one I encountered was the one about salmon fucking.
Yes.
And I was like, this is just such an incredible decision because no one would choose to do this. No one but AP Thompson would choose to do this.
Yeah.
And it's just so, everything about the game is so him, and it just made it more of that. And I found it very charming. And that was the moment when I texted Kate and I was like, Kate, you have to play this game. You're gonna love this.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose
that's
your
very
mind.
Kate, very
Yeah.
Kate coded. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reason that I was more receptive to it is because I'm already primed for this window into AP Thompson's brain that is Titanium Court. Because I cannot overstate how annoyed I would be if I was like in a coffee shop and someone was singing and playing that song. I'd be like, what? someone like pull that amp cord, like pull that cord out of the wall. Like I'm sick of it, but it fits. I'm receptive to it. I'm open. I want to hear the song about the salmon. Yeah.
It also just reinforced the idea that like you have no idea what's going to happen in this game. All kinds of things are going to happen and you're not going to see them coming. And I was like, okay, you have really doubled down on this now that any ability I thought I had to predict what was around the next corner, I don't have. So let's bring it on,
Yeah. Because the first time they give it to you, they're like, you have an opportunity to watch a musical performance instead of fighting the boss. And I was like, I didn't really want to fight the boss. So, okay, I guess. And then every time after that, you always have the choice, if you make it that far, of watching the song. Or it makes me wonder how many songs there are. Like, are there fucking 45 of these songs in there? Like, that would be crazy. But it's cool. So, speaking of the window into AP Thompson's mind, let's talk about the story and what it eventually becomes about. So, question for you. Did you ever try to leave the gate without achieving sufficient personal change, or did you do the bit with the mirror first?
This is interesting. I did leave when I first played this, because I was, on a deadline. I was playing it for review before embargo, and I got all 4 keys and I booked it to the gate at night, and, presents this little message like, hey, there's more stuff for you to do, and you haven't really achieved like this maximum level of personal change. So, but you can't go back after this. And I remember sitting there for a couple of minutes kind of pondering this, because I was like, on the one hand, I find this story and all these characters and what's going on with my characters so compelling. I do want to know. I don't want this to be over yet, and I do want to go back and do more. On the flip side, I was like, I got to finish this. I need to roll credits so I can write this review. But also, because I now have been it's been proven to me that I can't predict what's about to happen. I was like, I think if I go through this gate, I'm probably going to roll credits within the next 15 minutes. But I could also see this game pulling some bullshit on me and being like, chapter 2, here's a whole other 10 hours of gameplay or whatever. And I was like, I just can't risk that maybe there are several more hours to this game, and I need to finish it. So I did walk through the gate without achieving that level of personal change yet.
Interesting. That thought process kind of plays in with some of the meta narrative in Titanium Court. So did you do the bit with the mirror before you left?
I didn't. No, okay. I have since then, but I didn't before. Or I didn't the first time. I have this second time.
That's when they first reveal the kind of the game's like core theme is in that part with the mirror, where your character looks in the mirror to achieve personal change, which is one of the conditions they say you need to do to leave the court. Side note, before we talk about that, the game did pull some bullshit on me when I tried to leave the court, because the enemy character, the guy that looks like like an 18th century like British colonizer in Africa, he showed up before I left the court. And so when I tried to leave, it was maybe just because I waited that long that he was around, or maybe because I skipped the war portion, I didn't achieve a victory, which I think is one of the conditions. I tried to leave and he ambushed me and stole my keys. And so I did have a kind of part 2 of that, where I had to work with Puck to get my keys back. But let's talk about why Puck might want to help you do that. So in that conversation with the mirror, you face the truth. They say it's the truth that you don't want to see, but you are killing the court by continuing to play. You are killing the court. They say you, the player, the character that you're playing as, the queen, is fictional. The fairies are fictional. The other courts are fictional. Everything about this is fiction except for you, the one playing the game. they say, the quote is, "You're a reader and a player, voracious and destructive." And they introduce this concept of fairies going stale. So basically, when you exhaust a fairy's dialogue, everything that they have programmed to say, they go stale. And this is a thing in the story where they just start repeating the last bit of dialogue that they have because they have nothing left to say. And there's a couple of story scenes where, like, one of the people who comes to court to petition you as the queen ran out of things to say, and so she just keeps repeating what she was saying. And it's kind of freaky when it happens. And then there's a part where they take you to this this big ballroom that's full of all these NPCs, these fairies that have gone stale because you've exhausted everything they have to say. And so this puts you in that kind of tension, similar to what you said about finishing the game quickly versus continuing to play. It also introduces this layer of tension where, like, the longer I stay here, the more this is going to happen to the characters. They're all going to go stale. But I have a to-do list full of stuff that sounds fun and mysterious, and I want to keep going. Like, where did I see? Like, I have, this was before I reunited the dire goats, and this was before I finished stacking the resources in the pantry for the cat. I want more questions from Puck. I want more answers from Puck. There's a teddy bear they sell in the shop. It's the last thing in the shop. I want to buy everything in the shop. And the game is specifically telling me, not the queen, telling me, Dave, the more you do this, the more these NPCs, fairies are going to go stale. And it's true in a way that, like, if you're playing a game and you've exhausted an NPC's dialogue, are you ever going to talk to them again? No. You're just going to be like, well, I got what I need out of this NPC. They gave me all the lore that they have or all the quests that they have, and see ya. And so they have no purpose anymore, which is what's going on with the fairies. And so this game kind of becomes about shining that meta narrative light on the way we play video games and the way that I hate this word and I try not to use it in so many different contexts, but the way we consume content. And if you view a video game to play as content to consume, Titanium Court's talking to you. And I think that this is very interesting. And this is just the setup of it, let alone how it, goes, we'll say. So, and what did you think when they introduced this to you? What was rolling through your head?
I really liked where they took this because I had been trying to figure out, so in my first playthrough, there's a scene that I wish I could remember how I got. I think there's a moment where there are a couple moments where you can follow Puck through the court and sort of sneak around and follow him. Well, one of them concluded in a dressing room where you're overhearing Puck talk to another character about the other queen.
Yes.
And so, and I hadn't done the mirror stuff yet in that playthrough and never did in that playthrough. So I had been kind of mentally working on what are we talking about here? And I wasn't sure if the lore was going to go deeper in the story of the game or if it was going to become meta. And I think I was a little bit worried that the meta narrative was going to get too self-serious or navel-gazy, but I feel like this theme hits just super well and is very, it's shining a light on this truth about how, media and art and literature and everything has become kind of boiled down into this idea of content and consuming. So I love where it went. I think it was both serious and thoughtful, but also not taking itself too seriously.
Yeah. Put yourself in the shoes of a developer trying to fill their game with stuff to do. And thinking about those players, because there's a lot of people out there who will do everything. Like they 100% every game that they play because they find enjoyment and fulfillment in squeezing everything out that a game has to offer. And it's not a value judgment on like that way of playing games, but this game is kind of looking at that. And I think the idea is, if you are playing this game and you see the fairies in the court as real, or real enough to suspend disbelief and put yourself in that world, what are you doing by exhausting their dialogue and removing their purpose from the world? And that's what's going on here. That's in the game. That's why Puck avoids you during the day, is because he doesn't want to talk to you, because the more you talk to him, the less he has left, and he doesn't want to go stale. And that's why they say all the fairies wither under the gaze of the other queen, which is us, the players, because the more time we spend in the game, the less they have left to give. And within this fiction, once they've given everything that they can give, they are husks after that. And it really, like, it's interesting. So, like, we talked about how everything feeds into each other and how this game has this really strong momentum going forward. You always want to explore the next thing on the list, try the next job in combat, yada, yada, yada. You always want to keep playing for hours and hours and hours. And this game is saying, you're hurting these characters by doing this. Here's your off-ramp. We think it'd be nice if you took the off-ramp. And I think that it's interesting for a game to present. I think it's nice when games present players with an off-ramp, especially something that doesn't have like a very clear start, middle, end to it. Titanium Court has a way to finish the game, but it's not like I need to play through the different chapters and then the game will end. This is a game where you choose when it ends. And the game is saying, hey, consider not doing everything, because you're not killing, but you are effectively killing all these characters. So again, it shines the light on us and how we play games, and whether we're the type of person to try to squeeze every bit of usefulness out of these characters, and the kind of clash between, do I view them as real enough to care about, but also I want to squeeze everything out of them? Those two things don't quite mesh, and I think the game kind of lives in that conflict right there. Eventually, that's where the story goes. I think it's super cool.
I think it speaks so much to that experience too that you have, going back to like how the experience of playing this feels so much like reading a book that I really love. I think it speaks to that experience of finishing a series or a book, and that sort of sadness, that like grief that you have once it's over, because it doesn't, you know, everything about this world that there is to know. It doesn't exist anywhere, but if you finish it halfway through, it does sort of exist out there. You don't you don't know everything about it, and it's sort of still living on. And I haven't seen that experience touched on really ever in this way, as sort of a critique of how we're consuming things. It puts into context the bit at the very beginning where the sort of MC character introduces the play and mentions that it's a race, because now we understand it really actually is a race. And I think I took that as sort of this like light, quippy thing to just like engage people right off the bat. So it's interesting to see it come back around in kind of a sinister way.
Yeah, it kind of they play it off as a joke, but like, what happens if you do outpace the script writers? Like, the whole production falls apart. So the show has to end before that happens. And so they're kind of saying, in a way, this show does have to end. You have to end it, and you should do it before you squeeze everything out of it. I really like what you said about kind of the beauty of something that's not all the way finished. Like, even some of my favorite games, take Final Fantasy X, for example. I've never finished all the super bosses in that game, there is a little bit left where somewhere down the road, I will have a new experience with Final Fantasy X, a game that I've played, the game that I've completed like 5 times. There's no new story experiences with Final Fantasy X within the context of the game. I know there's extra stuff, but that's beside the point. But there is an experience that's unfinished with the mechanical side of that game, which I also enjoy. And I think there's a little bit of like a romantic beauty in something that's untapped. And to see this game actually say that is beautiful, and that in some ways we prefer that. Rebecca Valentine did an interview with AP Thompson for Kotaku, where they specifically said this is a thing that I think about the way people play games, and try to watch as many TV shows or play as many games and just do it as fast as you can, but also like do as much as you can. And isn't there something nice about having something that's untapped in a thing that you love? And I think that that's really, it's really cool. I've really only ever seen this in one other thing, and it was the end of The Dark Tower, which I won't spoil in case someone has not read that series. Have you read it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I won't spoil it, but Stephen King at the very end has like a meta chapter where he talks to you, the reader. Like Stephen King, the author, says, you may want to just stop reading before you read the end. You might not like it. So here's your off ramp, and you will always have a little bit of unread story. You'll always be able to imagine a little bit how the story ends. If you read what I wrote, you might like it. You might not. You might remove that possibility. So if you want to stop reading here. There's a chapter where he says that to the reader. And of course I kept reading. I liked the ending of The Dark Tower, but I thought it was interesting that he took that opportunity to be like, hey, maybe leave this unfulfilled in a certain way. Your imagination can fill in what you think happens, and you might be more satisfied by that. And I think that that's the only other thing that kind of does the same thing that Titanium Court's doing here, where the game is asking you to leave some of it unplayed for that reason, because that possibility it can be whatever you think it is. Like it's a kind of romantic idea about it.
Yeah, as you were talking to it, occurred to me that I think when you do play games this way, where you don't insist on doing everything and you don't squeeze every last drop of quote unquote content out of it, I think that makes conversations like this, like we're having, that much more meaningful, especially in a case of Titanium Court, where a lot of this is pretty non-linear. Some things have to happen before you reach other story events, but like a lot of this can happen in any order. And we get to have a conversation where you saw some scenes or did some things that I didn't do, and I saw some things and did some things that you didn't do, and we can talk about it. And how much less interesting does the conversation become if we both did everything?
Yeah. I love, it's always one of my most favorite parts is with games like this, where we can share, like, I did this, did you do this? How did you do that? I didn't know you could even do that. Like stuff like that. When you play games, I think I already know the answer, but for people who maybe don't know, do you play for platinum trophies? Do you try to 100% stuff?
No.
Too busy for it?
Too busy for it. Yeah, I couldn't possibly these days. But even before, I think I don't like that process of the game becoming stale, you know?
Yeah. No judgment on the people who like getting platinum trophies, and especially if games have like cool challenges associated with them. But I can't tell you how many times someone has said something to the effect of, I like the game a lot. The grind for the platinum trophy was a pain in the ass, and I like the game less now because of that. Because I think that there is a point that a lot of games probably reach if you're trying to get that 100%. It's stale at a certain point. You're just, especially if those trophies are related to repetitive tasks or grinding to level 99 or something like that, then it does get stale. And I wonder if those people would have a better experience if they had not done that. They're getting their fulfillment out of getting the trophies and stuff like that. And I don't want to try and take that away from anybody, but I think that this game is like smartly shining a light on that type of play and the potential downside of it, which I think that any platinum trophy hunter that I know, they know that this is a part of the deal. Sometimes they've experienced this too. And AP Thompson and both of us agree that I think that there is some beauty in that, in leaving some of that stuff. There's always something for later. If you want to play it again, there will be something new for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, I mean, I will maybe come for that, not the people who do it, not the completionists themselves, but like that element in gaming culture. You know, I think that there are some people who platinum games because they just really get a lot of personal value and accomplishment out of feeling like they achieved everything. But then I do think that there are a lot of people who are doing it because there's this culture within gaming of needing to prove yourself all the time, that you're a good gamer, that you're better than other people, and that and trophy hunting is one of the ways that people do that.
Yeah, I went on a rant about that in the Mina the Hollower episode. I respect and love my trophy hunting friends as long as they don't go into that toxic, like, I got the platinum trophy, therefore I am better than you type of thing. And those people are not my friends anyway. So
yeah,
I might be straw manning right now, but
right. I also don't
I know
these
that they're
people
out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like we've been on the internet for long enough. We've seen people who have really unhealthy relationships with video games in a lot of different ways. Maybe me doing a different video game every week on this podcast is an unhealthy relationship with video games too. I think AP Thompson is commenting a little bit on people who play as many games as possible and don't sit and engage. Or, you know, if someone were to be like, I watched 20 movies this week, it's like, yeah, that's cool. How much did you retain from those 20 movies?
Yeah.
That is a criticism of me in the way that I do this, that I'm like, yeah, sometimes like I am playing a lot of games and stuff slips through the cracks, where if I was just playing one game and luxuriating in it, probably wouldn't happen that way. It does happen. So, I mean, it's not to say that like now I'm the superior, I have the better relationship with video games than other people. We've all got our stuff, especially you and I have gotten into the media game where there's a consistent pressure to keep putting stuff out. Mm-hmm. I've very much just given up on even playing the new games as they come out. Titanium Court episode's coming out like 4 months later, and that's a pretty quick turnaround for me. But I think that it's interesting for this game to shine that meta light on some of the ways that we engage with games and other media too. It doesn't just have to be games here.
Yeah. I think the relationship that you wind up building with Puck and with your player character and vice versa sort of speaks to what is the relationship you wind up having to the media or the art or literature, whatever that you're engaging with. Is it between you and it, or is the way you're engaging with it about you and stuff outside of it? And I think all of the, the trophy hunters who are doing it to prove it to other people, or the people who watch 20 movies so that they can say to somebody else, hey, I watched 20 movies this week, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or even us who are playing it, playing games, as many games as possible, or as new games as possible, or whatever, to put out content, to talk to other people about it. We're engaged to a degree. We're all engaging with these things, not for the sake of having that relationship with the game or the piece of art or whatever, but for some meta outside engagement.
I would like to think that like what you and I are doing is engaging with the work in a way that
I think so. I like to think so.
Hey, I like to think that I get a pass a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I think that this would be the difference, is if I didn't do the podcast and then I was like, all that time I spend editing the podcast and recording and planning and writing outlines and stuff, I'm going to use that to play double the amount of games that I already play. Then I don't know if I would be as self-reflective, but that would be a thing where it's like, hey man, that you're doing, that's too many. Like, are you really engaging with this? Or are you just trying to do as many as possible?
Mm-hmm.
I think that doing the show, you doing No Small Games, writing reviews or talking with your chat about the game you're playing on a stream, like that's engaging with it at least.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that we have the healthiest relationship with video games, but I am giving us a little bit of a merit there for that at least.
I think we get a pass. I think that for me, all of the things that I do around playing games, like No Small Games, like streaming, talking with friends about games, like that enhances my experience to
100%.
all of it. Yeah.
It would be one thing to play Titanium Court and take in this story, but then the second part of the equation for us is having the podcast and talking about it and talking through that stuff. Or I'm going to play it on Twitch and discuss it with my chat, or I'm going to write about it. Like, this is a game that, there is more here if I decided I wanted to write about the way this game is commenting on our relationship with games. In a lot of different types of relationships. I think most clearly it's commenting on the people who try to squeeze as much out as quickly as possible so they can move on to the next thing to squeeze as much out and not really engage with it. But I do think that there's that unique element of this where Titanium Court is saying that there is beauty in that part of the game that you leave unfinished. Because I'm thinking about like playing a game with a different build on a second playthrough, playing with a different playable character. Like I have a second Dishonored 2 playthrough where I play as the other character that I didn't play the first time. And that's always there. And that's cool that I always have that. And I love that game and I'll do it someday, but it's there waiting for me. And that like potential of it is kind of exciting. Whereas if I had played Dishonored 2 back to back, both characters looked up a list of the achievements and a guide for how to get them and squeezed it all out, I don't think I would feel as excited about the idea of playing the game again, or maybe even excited about the game in general as I do right now. So it's a tough thing. I don't know. Generally, what do you think of the idea of a game telling you to stop playing? Like, that's a weird thing, right? Like,
yeah.
I talked about it with the Stephen King example of you telling you to stop reading, but that's there's 3 more pages left in the book after that. Titanium Court, there's potentially 100 hours of game that they're saying, please don't play. So
the first time I left the court, there was so much, and I was very aware that there was so much story left that I hadn't experienced, and I was like, I guess I don't know. I think it's really beautiful. I love this idea that you're being encouraged to leave that. It is a really romantic idea that there's stuff out there that hasn't happened yet, and it sort of exists. It's sort of still alive out there because you haven't experienced it yet. I think that this sort of already ties into the idea of completionism, but it at least asks questions. It asks the question about what does it mean to have entirely experienced a game, and I think that is something I reflect on a lot as I'm reviewing games, because I think reviewers of games each have their own sort of personal requirement of I must do XYZ before I feel comfortable giving a game a general score or rating or writing a review. And for some people that may seem like a matter-of-fact kind of thing, that of course you have to hit credits. Of course you have to experience every story event. I don't know. Of course you have to do every main quest line item or something. So I like that is, being made a question here, because I think it deserves to be a question. And it deserves to maybe not have one answer too. Maybe there isn't one answer to the question of what does it mean to have completed a game.
Yeah, agreed. And there's all ranges of people who like do it professionally, like the lines that they draw. You've got, well, I don't do it professionally, but my own line is I have to hit the credits. And if there's something like very obviously important after the credits, I have to do that too. I finish every game I play on here, but I never 100% stuff, very rarely. You have people like The Completionist and Mortismal Gaming on YouTube. They both do 100% reviews of games from that perspective. And I've watched videos from both of them where they're like, getting this last trophy sucked and it soured the experience of playing this. And that's a niche that they're serving, and they're engaging with stuff the way they want to engage with it. And I mean, it is providing the perspective from someone who got the 100% is valuable too. Not to like discount that perspective, but it is interesting to have something that's like, please don't. And I agree with you that it's an interesting question. And I think that art generally has free reign to ask any question of its audience that it wants to ask. And in this case, it's saying, and providing that like emotional stake too. Like if you like the fairies in the court, it's providing you with that emotional, like if I'm doing the 100%, I know I am making these characters worse. It's providing you that weight to make it a little bit easier to accept. Like, you know what? I am going to take that off ramp and finish the game here. And I think, I don't know, some people object to that layer of, meta questioning. I liked it. I think that if I didn't like the characters as much, like I like Puck, he's a little asshole, but I liked him. And I like the other characters. And I was genuinely a little bit disturbed when they started going stale. And when you go to the feast hall and you see all the dozens of stale fairies, and I was like, shit, all right, well, if I care about the characters, then the choice is obvious. Like we're leaving as soon as possible. And you make the deal with Puck. If the enemy steals your keys, Puck makes a deal to work with you. He will steal keys from the enemy. Like every couple of runs, he'll steal one, but it's always like, I dropped it in the gift shop and now they're selling it. You're going to have to buy it, but it's in the gift shop. Or like there's one where it gets stuck in the vending machine. I got 2 of the keys from Puck, and then I found 2 new keys that I hadn't found before, and that's how I left. So working with Puck, like this is all fitting in with the story. It's not just the game saying like, I'm not going to say this out loud, but I'm out of content in 2 hours. Please stop. It's not like that. It's fitting in with the story in a cool way. So I like it. And it's not just because it's new. It's because it's new and it's supported by the story that they've built and how the shit works in the court.
And it's true. Like, I think it's pointing to something that is relatable, that anybody who's played a game or watched a movie or read a book has some fundamental, like context for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of do a similar thing where I'm like, when I finish a game, usually when I finish a game, but sometimes when I watch a movie, I'll rush into Discord and start posting about how I finished it. I write mini reviews and I post them in several Discords that have like channels for that. And I usually do that within an hour of rolling the credits. And so there is this mentality of like, I finished the thing, I'm going to let everyone know what I feel about it. And then when that's done, I'm going to start the next thing. So this consumption, I think that AP Thompson's kind of commenting on, I'm not immune to it. I do it to some extent. I think most of us do it. Like, I think it's really hard to have a very healthy relationship and luxuriate in it, especially if you do some kind of podcast or YouTube channel, or if you write, like you're looking for the next experience or you're looking for the next thing that you're going to do on your show. And it gets us into this mentality of one thing after the other. You kind of would have to build your show out to sit in the details and not rush. Like play along podcast, like they'll take 2 months to play through a game. Retrograde Amnesia is a good Japanese RPG podcast. They will take fucking like 30, 40 episodes to go through a game. Like, that's building so that you allow yourself to luxuriate in it in a way that sometimes I don't feel like I can. So it's interesting when art puts the mirror up and it's like, hey, look at what you're doing. Look at the way that you're making choices.
Yeah. And I almost wonder, I think you're completely right that it's really hard to escape this process these days. And even if you don't go about squeezing every single ounce of enjoyment or content, quote unquote, whatever, out of
such a hard word to avoid.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Like even if you're not doing that, this sort of completionist behavior, there is an element of commodifying it by posting about it that we're all doing. Even the people who are doing it thoughtfully, I think we're all doing it to a degree where the thing we just engage with, it doesn't stay between us and it, you know, like, and I think for me, that relationship between me and the player character and Puck is so important. And so there's this intimacy between you and the thing that you lose as soon as you start like posting about it. And I think it's true of art too. Like, you know, you go to a museum, I think there's this compulsion now. You do something like go out to a museum. What do you want to do? You want to like take photos that you were there and share them, or you went to a concert. You want to take videos of it and post it. And I don't think that those things are necessarily bad to do. I think that it does help us engage with each other around the things we're experiencing and the art that we find beautiful. So I think it's not inherently wrong, but it does inherently change our relationship to the thing.
Yeah.
Like when was the last time you played a game? And I'm asking myself this too. Like, when's the last time I played a game and told no one that I played that game?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking, like, when was the last time I played a game and didn't worry about recording footage or taking screenshots?
Yeah.
Like, it's been a long time. It's been probably the last game that I just played and had no plans to make anything about. I still take footage of those in case I want to put it in my end of year video that I make, you know, like, so when was the last time you had that like pure unfiltered engagement with something? I mean, I think we're doing the best we can, but it's not a pure unfiltered thing. Thinking about like, I like seeing people's, you know, if someone goes to see My Chemical Romance and they take a video of them playing one of their favorite songs, I like to see that on Instagram stories and stuff. But if I'm in that position and I'm holding the phone up, I'm thinking about like, oh, make sure this person's head isn't blocking the stage, and I'm separated from the experience of the show a little bit.
Yeah. I think I'm going to make a point to play at least one. It's not going to be huge, but like play at least one game this year that I tell no one about, that I tell no one I played, that I don't talk about.
Yeah.
It's just for me.
It sounds like you're breaking the law in a way.
Yeah,
like,
I know. It's actually hard to think about, you know?
Yeah. It's so fun to talk about it. It's so fun to play something and post about it and engage with other people who played it and talk about the experience and stuff. I guess like recently I'm going to break it now by saying it, but like I've been playing some shmups, some like vertical and side scrolling shmups. Because I want to try to get into those games. And I've just been trying them out in the background. I haven't really posted about it. No plans to podcast about them because I have no sense that I'm going to like finish them or even get good enough about them to talk about them intelligently. But I have been like just 20 minutes here, just fire one up and see if I can learn a little bit about how to play these fucking games. So I think that's the closest thing for me. And now it's ruined because I talked about it. I'll have to cut this out of the podcast. It'll just be our secret.
Nice.
So yeah, I certainly didn't expect Titanium Court to go in this direction where not only do I think that the mirror they're shining at me is interesting and the mirror they're shining at gamers is interesting, but also the way that it emotionally involves me in like the story and the fate of the characters. Like, the deal you make with Puck when he steals the keys back for you, he says he'll help you, but you have to leave the second you're able to. And you can go back on that deal if you want to, but as soon as I was able to, I left. And I guess that means that I cared about Puck as a character and the other fairies in the court. It's funny. The enemy is going to try and stop you from leaving. Did you ever see this? Did you leave before the enemy showed up?
Yeah.
So the enemy stole my keys the one time. So the second time I was ready to leave, I was like, I gotta make sure I win a run and then leave. And then one of the things is they tell you you'll need a magic spell to distract the enemy so that you can leave. And there's a lot of ways that you can do this. Magic is a whole can of worms in Titanium Court, the concept of magic. One of the ways you can do it, that I did it, is a joke. Because they say that magic involves a combination of subverted expectations and timing. So you think of like a magic trick? Yeah. But also that's how jokes work. So the punchline is the magic trick. And the punchline was, earlier in the game, I had watched a cat knock a test tube off of a shelf, and we got the cat to knock something off of a shelf. It distracted the enemy, and I ran out the gates. And then you get out there, you're out in like the field again, you find a bus stop. Mm-hmm. The game asks you have time to turn around and take one look at the court. Did you take a look back?
I did not. Again, partly because it feels like one of those things. You just don't do. You shouldn't look back if you're dealing with any kind of magic. If you've been isekai'd, you don't look back when you've left.
Yeah.
But also
when you're dealing with a magical court, yeah.
Yeah. I was also still very on kind of on my toes about like maybe they're gonna drag me back into this.
Yeah. You look back and they're like, psych, 15 more hours, let's go.
So I chose not to.
Yeah. I didn't look back. I think it, like, narratively, I don't think you should, but also I was a little bit like, if I look back, is it going to pull me back in and they're going to steal my keys again? A little bit of that.
Yeah.
So I didn't look back, but narratively, you decided you're going to leave. You got to follow through with that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, yeah. So I did not do that. And that's the end of Titanium Court. If you boot the game up again after you roll the credits, you're still at the bus stop. And you can look at your journal to like replay sections of it, but you can't do new stuff. So that is the end of Titanium Court. And it will always have that unfinished feeling. Like, I got less than half of the curses. I have more things on my to-do list. There's stuff I was interested in that I never quite figured out. And that's just always going to be unknown unless I replay the game. And I think that that's resonant with what the game is trying to say. So I'm pretty satisfied with it.
Yeah. It's a beautiful ending. And I think it's also really well supported by the fact that it's a great game. And I would pick it back up. And I already have. I've been enjoying the half a playthrough that I've already, had this week. Mm-hmm. I would start a brand new playthrough again too. And I hope I never 100% it, but I would play it again.
100%. It would be an interesting challenge to replay the game, but try to do different stuff, break different curses, lean into different jobs, try to have see if the story does different stuff. But we'll never know. And I think there's a little bit of magic in that. So, Emily, thanks for going through Titanium Court with me. This has been really fun.
Yeah, this has been awesome. I should be thanking you for inviting me because I am a Titanium Court sicko now.
Oh, yeah.
This is really high up there in terms of my favorite games of 2026. So,
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's great having you back on the show. Looking forward to the next one that we do, which will be coming sometime. We'll figure something out. And at the end of the show, remind people, as the music is playing us out, check down in the show notes for No Small Games, podcast, website, and then if you want to follow on YouTube and Twitch, there is video and streams and stuff like that for you to watch. A lot of good stuff. Highly recommend you check it out. If you're here with us at the end, you are my hero as always. Thank you for 100%ing this podcast. Tune in next week for the next game to come out of the backlog.
Welcome to No Small Games, the indie gaming recap and review podcast. I'm Kate, also known as Cater Blossom.
And I'm Emily. You might also know me online as The Specific Egg.
And we met streaming and playing video games on Twitch.
At No Small Games, we combine our favorite genres to experience everything the indie game world has to offer and share it with all of you. We believe there are no small games, only small game studios.
Each episode, we'll choose one indie game that we each played separately and discuss our playthrough experience together.
The good, the bad, and our most memorable moments. We'll follow our recap with a review and announcement of which indie game will be featured on our next episode.
We invite you to play each game along with us and would love to hear from you about your playthrough experience.
Hey, Kate.
Hey, Emily.
I hope that No Small Games brings everyone some big fun.
So Many Games is an independent video game website from a group of passionate people. With a team of over 10 writers doing their bit for game discoverability, you'll surely find a game that will pique your interest. Our reviews delve into the main elements of the game and how they made us feel. With unbased but fair critique and AI-free writing, we hope to offer you a safe place to find out if a game is worthy of your time. But we also write articles from Steam Next Fest catch-ups to topics of interest from the gaming world. And we also publish written interviews from developers to voice actors on our bid to shine some light on the people behind our favourite games. But that's not all, as we also offer a monthly podcast interviewing developers, artists, composers, voice actors, and anyone else we can think of to come and talk about their experiences of making their latest or not so latest projects in real time. With a fortnightly newsletter to go on top of our offerings, there really is something for everybody. So what are you waiting for? Get on over to somanygames.co.uk and see for yourself all the amazing content that we have waiting for you.